Welcome to our talk on warm-up and why it's important. So for this talk, we're going to go ahead and walk through why we need to warm up before we go and race and what it's going to do to actually help you. Before you get going into this one, I encourage you to look backwards and go and take a look at our talks that we had on ATP and on the different ways we can produce it, because that will go and help you out with understanding this talk. So our topic today, warm up. All right, so to understand warm up, we have to think about this in terms of ATP demand. So we're going to draw a little chart here. On the Y, we're going to put ATP, which for now we'll just say more and less. And down here we'll put time, right? Both of these go up. All right, so all of you right now, we'll use red to go and signify what my aerobic system can do. So aerobic. And all of you right now have a certain amount of demand that you have of ATP to just run your body as I sit here and watch this. And you're doing a pretty good job of going and meeting it almost purely from aerobic means. So I have this demand right here that goes and stays pretty even. But let's say we decide to go and bike. And for our first example, we're going to go and race without a warm-up. So the moment we say 3, 2, 1, go, there's a new demand. And we'll put it up here in blue. So blue equals demand. The moment I begin to work out harder, I have to have ATP to do that. If I don't, I can't go harder. So we can say that the moment that we start, my demand goes from here and goes straight up to this level here. I need that amount to do what I'm asking my body to actually do. Our problem is this: our aerobic system doesn't just go straight up this wall, because we have to get more oxygen to the muscles and we have to bring them into the cells and we have to use it, so that takes time. So our aerobic curve kind of does this and comes up, and eventually, usually for us, we'll go and meet this demand. The problem is this: everything below this line is ATP I'm producing with oxygen, but I have this gap, and the gap exists right here between the red line and this dotted blue line. So all of this green stuff here is ATP that I need, but I can't produce aerobically. So my green line is going to be anaerobic demand. So this gigantic space here is what we call our oxygen debt, which is produced because I have to make all of this ATP to fill in this zone until my aerobic goes and catches up using stored ATP, creatine phosphate, and glycolysis. Glycolysis. All of which are non-aerobic, so I'll put no O2 used. They're also very limited in what I can, or in the length of time I can use those for before I begin to have cells that don't work properly. So this is a race where we don't go and warm up, or we don't go and warm up properly. This entire zone right here is one where it's part of why you're going to kind of feel like garbage, why your legs might feel heavy, is because we're relying on these systems that produce a lot of byproducts that are going to cause me to feel kind of like garbage at the start. Versus, we're going to put versus here, if I warm up properly, what happens is this still occurs during the warm-up, right? But our goal is that we want to keep our aerobic system right up here going. So ideally, let me just label our chart properly here. ATP, T for time. What happens is, instead of starting down low like we did over here, we're going to start with our aerobic system going. So now I have my aerobic group going and working at this tier. So if I'll just go and put a blue line on top of it. If now my demand is, I say 3, 2, 1, go, and that's my demand, our goal is to have that aerobic going and working as close as we possibly can, so it can immediately or much more rapidly meet that need. And now we can see that we have none of this stuff occurring here. if that occurs, which means that I'm saving up all of these important high-end groups for work later on in the race, maybe on a really hard hill, and you're going to feel better, and I'm going to race better, and overall you're going to have a much better start. So that's the purpose of our warm-up, is basically, again, to get the aerobic group going and be able to save all of this stuff here for when it actually goes and matters in a race. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have a question, please bring it into our practice, and we can go and cover it there. See ya.